The month of October and Halloween is probably my favorite time of year. Summer is finally starting to end, ushering in the cool fall weather, the scary movies playing on TV, the unique and specialized candies, costumes, pumpkin carving, decorations, the horrendous yet alluring color combination of purple, orange, and acid green, and, especially, spooky, scary video games. I love it all. Growing up, I especially looked forward to Halloween special episodes of TV series, from The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes to the Terror Tales of the Park from regular show. In that same spirit, this year I decided to do my own Halloween episode, what I'm calling
the Walaween Special.
This is something that I'm super excited about and I'm hoping will become an annual tradition. Not that 2020 really needs any more horror, I mean this year has been scary enough as it is, but I've been looking forward to this time of year for the entire year, and I want to celebrate it right. And what better game to celebrate Walaween than the Oregon Trail?
Actually no, that's not correct. See, you added the E sound. It really should be more like Oregon Trail.
Oh yeah, Oregon Trail. Since I'm separated from my friends for Halloween this year, I decided we'd get together virtually and take a trip across apocalyptic America. So, pile in with us as we take a trip cross-country and take a look at Oregon Trail, Director's Cut. When it comes to the world of edutainment titles, there is no series as prolific and iconic as the Oregon Trail. What started as a text-based educational title created by Don Rawitch, Bill Heineman, and Paul Dellenberger in the early 1970s exploded in popularity with the release of the graphical edutainment computer game version of the Apple II in 1985. There have been many various versions of the game over the years since then. My sister and I were personally raised on the 5th edition of the Oregon Trail, and I played a particularly memorable version on the DSiWare back in the day. But none have been nearly as iconic or woven into the cultural zeitgeist like the 85 version. And while most people probably know and remember it for dysentery, it still stands as likely the first thing most people think of when they think about educational video games. Because of its popularity, parody is always bound to follow, and that's where Oregon Trail comes in. While zombies have certainly waxed and waned in popularity over the decades, it's impossible to ignore the surge in popularity that zombies experienced 10 to 15 years ago. The Walking Dead, Warm Bodies, World War Z, I Am Legend, Left 4 Dead, Dead Rising, Dead Island, COD Zombies, Dead Space, it counts, The Last of Us, Plants vs. Zombies, and on and on and on. Sure, the genre still may be carrying on just like the lifeless corpses their respective media portrays nearly a decade later, but there was a definite audience for games, books, movies, TV shows, and all other types of media that revolved around zombies, especially in the West, that hit a major fever pitch. And it was during this time that the indie game Oregon Trail came out. The original version of Oregon Trail was released as a free Flash browser game on Halloween of 2011. A parody of the Oregon Trail, Oregon Trail mimicked the graphics and gameplay of the Oregon Trail, but asked the simple question: what if you had to journey across the United States in modern times during the zombie apocalypse? Like the original game it parodies, Oregon Trail was made by 3 developers, Michael Block, Ben Perez, and Ryan Wymayer. After the initial success of the browser-based game, Block and Wymayer would go on to form their own company, The Men Who Wear Many Hats. In response to the positive feedback from the game, they scrapped their newest project, created a Kickstarter for a revamped Oregon Trail, and after securing over 4 times the funding for their initial goal, began work on Oregon Trail Director's Cut, which was released in August of 2012 for mobile phones and eventually released on Steam in January of 2013. Oregon Trail isn't just a parody in name. From the sounds to the core gameplay and the retro visuals, Oregon Trail clearly draws a lot of love and inspiration from the Apple II version of the Oregon Trail. I don't remember exactly how I ended up with a copy of Oregon Trail Director's Cut, likely from a random Steam sale or Humble Bundle, but it's a concept that I fell in love with just on the premise alone. Until now, I've never had the time or patience to complete a full playthrough of the game, but with it being spooky month, I figured now would be the perfect time to gather up my friends and take an apocalyptic road trip across the United States. My journey begins in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I've just accidentally stumbled into the middle of a small horde of zombies. Barely able to take cover in time, I peer over the wall of rubble and realize I only have so much time before I'm overtaken. My hand reaches into my pocket and pulls out a small number of bullets. Not good, but it'll have to do. Loading up my rifle, I take aim at the approaching monsters. This intro scene is a small tutorial of what the player will face when playing Oregon Trail. This minigame teaches players the basic shooting mechanics. Using the mouse, you click your target and drag it towards your character. It seems simple enough at first, but when your screen is suddenly covered in zombies, it can make situations a lot more stressful and creates an interesting risk versus reward system. The closer your mouse is to your character when you release, the higher the chance of making your shot. With only 4 bullets left, each one makes their mark, but soon my rifle clicks and I'm out of ammo. The zombies crawl closer, snarling, frothing mouths snapping in my direction. I prepare for the worst. When a gruff figure steps from the shadows, letting loose a volley of shots from their handgun. One by one, the zombies hit the ground, until there isn't even one left standing. Turning on their heels, the stranger approaches me, limping slightly. He sticks out a hand, helping me to my feet.
Well then, looks like I just saved your bacon. I reckon we stand a better chance out there if we stick together. My name's Clemens. I used to be a priest. Not much use for those nowadays. What's your name, partner?
Under the guise of introducing yourself to Clemens, the player's able to name their party leader.
The pleasure's all mine, Wallabob. Listen, even with the 2 of us, we won't survive very long. Everyone I trusted died a while back. Do you know anyone we could count on in a pinch?
Well, I do happen to have some friends that I think could help us survive. Firstly, my girlfriend, Chief Thickums. We'd gotten separated during a military evacuation and I knew she had to be somewhat nearby. My buddy, Mr. GameScoop, YouTube OG, and more importantly, an ace shot. Mi amigo, Goooooman, has been all around the world and seen some stuff. Finally, my pal Peppermint Attitude. Really loves Child of Light, and honestly, we could all use that kind of positivity right now. Having entered my friends' names as my party members, Clemens tells me about a nearby station wagon that we can use to get to one of the shelters set up about 130 miles away in Washington, D.C. This is one of my favorite parodies between the original Oregon Trail and Oregon Trail, the swapping of a covered wagon for a station wagon. It's a clever little nod that highlights the change in technology between then and now, and I love it. Getting into the car, Clemens and I began making our way towards Washington, D.C. Not even 30 miles into the trip, and... oh, well, we could probably still make it to DC okay. I mean, there's not... Alright, this isn't good either, but we're almost there. We can definitely make it... Alright, what the frick? Just as the station wagon begins to run out of fuel, we coast into the city. From a nearby broken window, a radio blares.
Repeat, all survivors who still remain in Washington, D.C., the government has declared a Class 3 biohazard in the area. They will be commencing a nuclear strike within a few short hours. Get out while you can. The city is lost.
Despite being bitten, having a broken arm, and suffering from dysentery, Clement suggests we split up and I gather supplies while he looks for my friends. Unlike the Oregon Trail, which tries to get math and critical thinking skills involved, the process for selecting what materials you want is pretty painless. You divide your hours up among what you think is most valuable, choosing between fuel, medkits, money, batteries, food, ammo, tires, and mufflers. Fuel and food are the only 2 materials that are constantly being consumed by your party in the station wagon, so it's important to make sure they're stocked and monitored. Everything plays an important role in survival, but some items like tires, batteries, and mufflers are needed on a case-by-case basis. Oregon Trail is dominated by RNG, or random number generator, meaning that anything and everything has the random potential to happen. So it's better to be safe than sorry with your supplies. Clemens returns, having found my friends. He turns to me, a grave look on his face.
Great. Everyone's here. There's just one more thing. Back there on the road, one of those things bit me. I'm already not feeling too well, and I can't stand the thought of becoming one of them. You're just gonna have to put me down for the good of...
What the heck, Mr. GameScoop?
Can't risk that spreading.
That sounds like
Well, that's a pretty good
logic
reason.
to me.
Murmurs of agreement.
Like I said, he's an ace shot. With hardly any more time to mourn Clemens, my friends and I hop into the station wagon and begin our long journey across the United States. From here, the game turns into a basic system of survival and resource management. As you drive along the road, the game throws all kinds of events and mishaps at you. These range from sicknesses and injuries to bandits destroying parts of your car. The main goal is to get from one destination to the next, where you're bound to find lots of supplies, upgrades, and tasks to help benefit your party. You can stop along the road anytime to scavenge for food and trade with strangers if need be, but it's the cities that provide major boosts and restocks to your supplies. At each stop, there are people to talk to, stores to buy supplies at, which always conveniently seem to be out of what you need when you need it most, and auto shops and combat trainers that can give your car or character skills and special upgrades, such as faster bullets or a car battery that never dies. These items are always on the pricey side, but definitely help you out in the long run of your journey. You can also choose to take on jobs for the local townsfolk. Jobs help spice up the main gameplay of Oregon Trail. At these stops, players can choose to take on tasks in exchange for rewards like ammo, money, medkits, and such. These can be anything from taking out local bandits to collecting items that someone has left behind. You can choose from 3 different weapon types: rifle, shotgun, and pistol. Each has different ammo consumption rates and reload speeds. I personally prefer the rifle, but having different options helps players have a more tactical advantage depending on the job and the level of zombies present. Once you've gathered up and traded for all the supplies you need to get going, your party hits the road again and tries to make it to the next town. As you leave, sometimes you'll have random event minigames, like having to cross through a horde of zombies or taking out a motorcycle gang. Outside of these random side events, the gameplay of Oregon Trail can tend to get pretty repetitive, as you just keep going from town to town trying to keep your party alive until you reach Safe Haven. And despite my friend's best efforts, we somehow managed to arrive across the United States at the Safe Haven. But when we arrived...
Hey there. Welcome to Safe Haven. I let you in, but our power grid is down for maintenance. I need you to power the bridge if you want to get in.
Are you kidding me? This game is more of a series of unfortunate events than the 2013 Academy Award-winning yet also personally incredibly disappointing film Gravity, starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Unbelievable!
Actually, I kind of liked Gravity.
Of course you did! Everyone did!
But that's not important. There should be an old gas generator and some fuel lying around. Go gather it up and hurry. It looks like there's a horde heading this way.
Without a second thought, on suspicion of him being the one who farted, my party votes Peppermint gather up the gas while we provide him cover from the station wagon. He collects them all, dodging the zombies, and gets us enough power to help us inside of the Safe Haven. Yeah, we did it, guys! We worked together as a team to overcome insurmountable odds. And now, for a celebratory game of...
Hey, what's wrong?
No.
Hey, what's wrong, man? Are you okay?
I can't believe it. I left my copy of Trauma Center under the knife back in DC. I must have dropped it while looking for supplies. We have to go back right now and get it.
Bro, are you freaking kidding me? You just made me go out and save our entire party, and we made it to the Safe Haven, and now you want us to go back for your dumb video game?
Trauma Center is very serious business.
Everyone back in the car now! So, here we are, back at the beginning again, when I noticed something on the main menu. A DLC option for Final Expansion Cut. Honestly, I had never noticed or heard of this DLC until I finished my first playthrough, but based on the reviews I read online, it was essential to play the Final Cut version. Having been reunited with my beloved copy of Trauma Center, I figured since it was so easy to make it a Safe Haven the first time, I'd try the Final Cut expansion and play the game on hard mode. What could possibly go wrong? To whoever reads this note, or broken down in the middle of Texas somewhere, in the end, it was my own hubris that proved to be my downfall. When I heard about all the extra challenging minigames like graveyard retrieval and the additional choose-your-own-adventure style paths through radiation zones across the United States, I laughed in the face of adversity. Haha! But in the end, I never took into account how much faster and more difficult the zombies would be. In the end,
you're starting to run low on food, and things weren't looking good for Thickums. I had to stop and try to scavenge for food, but I just kept getting bit by zombies. Some may call me a simp, but it doesn't matter anymore. Here my party will stay content, now that I am here with Trauma Center. I may be at peace with my—
Actually, the rest of us are just fine.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going to the safe haven once we bury you, don't worry.
In conclusion, Oregon Trail is faithful enough to the edutainment game that inspired it to be considered nostalgic, but also different enough that it can stand on its own as being unique. The game definitely has its own dark sense of humor, which I really like. And there are lots of nods to other horror icons in zombie media, which is definitely cool to pick out those Easter eggs. Unfortunately for me, the gameplay falls apart a bit once you've played it for a while and can get really repetitive. And while the Final Cut expansion definitely does add a lot of options to the core gameplay, Oregon Trail is still largely the same. If you play the standard campaign, the process of just trying to stay alive as you go from town to town to reach Safe Haven becomes pretty rinse and repeat. On the other hand, you could try the Endless mode, but that's essentially the same gameplay loop repeated until you die. It truly is a game about survival, and the repetition will likely only truly appeal to some players. Sure, there are multiple endings and secrets to discover, and plenty of new content with the Final Cut expansion. But for me, Oregon Trail is just a fun game to simulate the zombie apocalypse with my friends and play in small bursts every now and then. While I don't anticipate a lot of players putting a ton of time into the title, the game is very cheap on Steam, and I think it can be a great time with your friends, whether you're together or far apart this Halloween.
Isn't anyone else concerned about what we're doing here?
Can't risk that spreading.
The zombies will be here before we know it. Come on, let's get out of here.
Happy Halloween!